The kitchen smelled like cinnamon rolls and bacon at 3:47 in the morning. I was standing in my pajamas with flour on my cheek, arranging a fruit platter for 12 people who hated me. I was up before dawn baking from scratch for my husband's entire family. His mother Karen, his father Doug, his sister Jennifer, her husband Todd, their kids, his brother Brandon, Brandon's new girlfriend, and his grandmother, Nana Ruth. All of them were sleeping peacefully in my house, in beds I'd made with fresh sheets I bought with my own money. I was actually smiling because I thought this was love. I thought this was what a good wife did. Then the front door opened, and Michael walked in. He stood in the hallway with his jacket half off, his eyes bloodshot, smelling like whiskey and a floral perfume that wasn't mine. He looked at me, standing in my apron surrounded by enough food to feed an army, and said one word: divorce. Not I'm sorry. Not we need to talk. Just divorce. I set my whisk down on the granite counter with a small metallic clink. The oven timer had 14 minutes left. The coffee maker gurgled behind me, like the universe was mocking me with normal life. I didn't scream, cry, or throw anything. I untied my apron, folded it neatly, and placed it on the counter next to the fruit. Then I walked past him, close enough to smell that floral scent and see the smudge of lipstick on his collar, and went upstairs to our bedroom. I pulled out the suitcase I'd bought for our Cancun honeymoon 4 years ago and started packing. It took me 7 minutes to pack up my entire life, because when you're the wife who does everything, you don't actually own much. As I rolled the suitcase down the stairs, Michael was still standing in the hallway looking confused, like he'd rehearsed a fight filled with tears and accusations. Instead, I looked him dead in the eye and said, "Tell your mother the cinnamon rolls need 8 more minutes." Then I walked out the door, got in my car, and drove away. That was the last time Michael saw me as quiet, obedient Ashley, who'd never fight back. He had no idea what was coming, but to understand how I ended up in that kitchen at 4 in the morning, we have to go back 3 years. I met Michael Whitfield at a backyard barbecue. I was 26, working as a financial analyst in Charlotte, North Carolina. I had my own apartment, a great credit score, and a growing 401k. I wasn't looking for anyone, but Michael was magnetic. Tall, dark-haired, with an easy laugh, he made you feel like the only person in the room. Within a month, we were inseparable. He remembered every little detail: my favorite movie, my coffee order, even my childhood dog. When my car broke down at midnight, he drove 40 minutes to bring me a blanket and hot chocolate. He felt perfect. Then I met his family. His mother, Karen, was a woman who smiled with her mouth but never with her eyes. She ran the Whitfield family like a Fortune 500 company. His father, Doug, just nodded and agreed, while his sister Jennifer was a carbon copy of Karen, delivering cold insults wrapped in fake compliments. The only normal one was Michael's younger brother Brandon, who whispered, "Thank God, someone normal," the first time we met. Michael proposed after 9 months with a diamond ring his mother had secretly chosen. We married the following spring in a massive, overwhelming ceremony designed entirely by Karen. Soon after, we moved into a 4-bedroom colonial house. The down payment had come from Michael's family trust fund, a fact Karen weaponized immediately, constantly reminding me that Michael was providing for me. For the first year, I ignored the red flags. I let it slide when Karen called twice a day, or when Michael stepped out during private moments to answer her. Slowly, Karen's suggestions turned into demands. By our second Thanksgiving, I was brining a 22-pound turkey at 11 at night while Michael watched football. I cooked for 2 days, hosted 12 people, and when it was over, Karen just smirked and said the gravy was a little thin. I cried in the dark kitchen after everyone left, but then I cleaned every plate and went to bed while Michael slept. That became our routine. Every holiday and birthday was held at our house. I did all the labor while Karen criticized, and Michael disappeared. The first massive crack appeared on a Wednesday night. Michael claimed he was at a client dinner, but he stopped answering his phone. He stumbled home at midnight claiming his battery had died, but after he stepped into the shower, I saw his phone sitting on the counter with a 63% charge. My heart pounded, but I forced myself to put the phone down because I trusted him. 5 days later, during a Sunday supper I spent all weekend cooking for, I overheard Karen and Michael talking in the hallway. Karen called me difficult and complained that I wasn't integrating into the family because I refused to quit my career. Instead of standing up for me, Michael just replied, "I'll talk to her." That night in bed, he begged me to try harder with his mother. Karen's comfort mattered more to him than my dignity. 2 weeks later, the ground completely caved in. I came home from work early on a Thursday after closing a major audit. Michael's car was in the driveway, and I heard his voice upstairs. He was laughing, that warm, intimate laugh he used to reserve for me. I stood frozen at the bottom of the stairs as he said, "Thursday works. She's got a work thing so she doesn't suspect anything. She's too busy trying to impress my mother." Then I heard a woman's flirtatious voice over the speaker. I panicked, ran to the kitchen, and pretended I'd just walked in. When he came downstairs, he lied straight to my face, claiming it was a work client, before kissing my cheek. That night, while he slept, I unlocked his phone using his birthday. The texts were right there under a contact named Dave. But Dave didn't text about work. Dave sent heart emojis, selfies, and messages asking, "When are you leaving her?" The affair had been going on for 3 months. Her real name was Megan. I put the phone back, went to the bathroom, sat on the cold tile, and bit my fist until I tasted blood. I didn't cry. A cold, ruthless clarity washed over me. The woman who walked into that bathroom wanted to save her marriage. The woman who walked out was determined to save herself. 4 days later, at Karen's 63rd birthday party at our house, the betrayal got infinitely worse. I was carrying a 3-tier cake I'd spent 4 hours baking when Jennifer cornered me in the hallway. She looked me up and down and said, "I know about Megan, and honestly, Ashley, I don't blame him. You were so focused on your career that you forgot to be a wife." I held my breath, set the cake down perfectly on the table, and walked back to face her. Jennifer casually admitted that Michael had told Karen months ago, and Karen had told the rest of the family. They had known about the affair since September. For 3 months, Karen had eaten my food, slept in my guest beds, and told me to try harder, all while helping her son plan my replacement behind my back. They had systematically worked to keep me exhausted and obedient so I wouldn't notice my husband slipping away. I served the rest of that party in a trance. I sang happy birthday, handed out cake, and when Karen hugged me goodbye and called me sweetheart, I realized just how sociopathic the whole family was. The next 2 weeks were pure torture. I lost 7 pounds, couldn't sleep, and felt consumed by a toxic layer of shame. My best friend was out of the country, my parents were recovering from surgery, and I had nobody to confide in. Finally, my boss Patricia noticed me staring blankly at a spreadsheet and pulled me into her office. I completely broke down, sobbing as I confessed everything. Patricia didn't offer empty pity. She closed the blinds, handed me tissues, and immediately took charge. She told me to take the day off, hire a sharp attorney, and immediately split our finances. That afternoon, the real game began. I opened a private bank account at a completely different institution and transferred half of our savings, along with my full paycheck. I met with a top-tier divorce lawyer named Victoria, who laid out a cold, surgical plan. Because the house was in both our names and my income had directly paid the mortgage while Michael's trust fund handled the down payment, I had significant leverage. Victoria instructed me to gather every piece of financial documentation, tax return, and proof of his infidelity I could find. For the next 10 days, I played the ultimate double agent. I cooked meals, smiled at Michael, and pretended to be the clueless, dutiful wife. But at night, while he slept, I systematically photographed tax documents, bank statements, and hidden credit card accounts. I discovered Michael had been funneling thousands of dollars from our joint account to buy luxury gifts and weekend getaway reservations for Megan. He was literally using my hard-earned money to fund his affair. I backed up every single text thread, bank transfer, and hotel receipt to a secure cloud server, hand-delivering copies directly to Victoria. When everything was legally locked down, I picked my moment. I knew the entire family was coming over for Sunday brunch, the very brunch where Michael planned to push me further into submission. I let them all arrive. I let Karen make her snide remarks about the table setting. I let Jennifer act superior. I waited until everyone was seated in the dining room, holding their coffee cups, expecting me to serve them. Instead of bringing out the food, I walked into the room carrying a stack of manila envelopes. I placed one in front of Michael, one in front of Karen, and one in front of Jennifer. Michael laughed nervously and asked what it was. I told him to open it. Inside were printed copies of his text messages with Megan, bank statements highlighting the thousands he spent on her, and a formal divorce petition already filed with the court. The silence in the room was absolute. Michael turned pale as ghost. Karen's polite mask completely shattered as she began stuttering, trying to make excuses. Jennifer looked like she'd been slapped. I looked at the family who had treated me like disposable help for 3 years and said, "You wanted a traditional wife who keeps quiet, but you forgot that I'm a financial analyst who keeps receipts." I didn't wait for the screaming match. I picked up my already packed suitcase from the hallway, walked out to my car, and left them sitting in the wreckage of their own deceit. 2 months later, the divorce was finalized. Because of the overwhelming proof of financial misconduct, Victoria secured a settlement that forced Michael to buy out my share of the house at full market value, while returning every cent he'd stolen from our joint account. Today, I live in a sunlit apartment downtown. My credit score is higher than ever, my career is thriving, and I cook purely for myself when I feel like it. Michael's family tried to rebuild their narrative, but the truth spread fast, destroying the perfect reputation Karen worked so hard to fake. I learned the hardest lesson of my life in that quiet kitchen. When people try to make you invisible, you don't lower your voice. You walk out the door and leave them screaming into the void.